So you've got a test coming up soon. You want to do well on it. Have you ever really thought about test taking strategies? And that's what this video is going to address, is just some different strategies, particularly for math tests. We'll focus on that a little bit more, but most of these strategies would be great for any test. So let's look. If you haven't already, your instructor has distributed in some way the test taking strategies checklist, and it was a 2-page, I think, file. So if you haven't already, please complete that. What you're going to do is simply put a check mark, like if I arrive on time or even early so I can feel calm and ready. If I always do that, I'm going to put a check mark there. Maybe if I sometimes do it, I put a check mark there. If I've never done it, or so rarely that I may as well be never. So you're just going to go through and put a check mark there. If you don't have the sheet printed out, just write down, which ones you do always, and just kind of sort them under always, sometimes, and never. So please stop the video and do that right now. All right, hopefully you've done that. And let's just talk about some of those. Hopefully you have several that you already always do. And if that's the case, keep doing those, because these are all good strategies. But let's look at some. Before the test, I arrive on time or even early so I feel calm and ready. This is a great one. So whether that is in real life or an online test, if you know what time the test is, make sure get there even 10 minutes before you normally would get to the class, even if you're just sitting around outside the class waiting for the class before to get out. Just to put you in a calm state of mind, really important. If it's online and you know it's going to be, you get this 1 hour, these 2 hours, or 12 hours, whatever you're going to get, make sure you're prepared before that time, the test time opens up. Gather all your supplies, and that's the second one there. And this is a common one for many people. You have a life outside the test, and so maybe there's something, you've got to get done, something nagging, something that's distressing, whatever it is. Take a piece of paper, take an index card, whatever, write that down, fold it up, put it away before you start the test. As soon as you're done with the test, open it up, and then you can address it. And that really has a psychological way of kind of just helping you put that aside for at least the time of the test. It's definitely not perfect, but it can help. Trying to ignore others in the room, especially if you hear sighs or stress or anything like that. Check your inner voice so you're not the person with the negative thoughts. So if you've got something negative, you are prepared. Hopefully you've done some things to prepare, whether that's just going to class, whether that's doing some studying skills. No matter what you've done, practicing problems, that's a great way. But you've done what you can up to that point. There is nothing else you could have done. So you're ready to succeed. You can do math, and that is something that your instructor and I believe. All right, use the restroom before. Whether that is, again, online or in person. If there is some test monitoring software with a webcam and you get up and leave because you have to go to the restroom, hopefully you can explain that away to your instructor. You may not be able to, so please take care of that beforehand. All right, so that's before the test, just getting yourself ready. During the test, and there's a whole bunch of things on here. All of these are fantastic. The couple that I really love, this first one, I do a data dump as soon as I get to the test. So any formulas that you need to remember, if it's quadratic formula, if it's the formula for mean compared to median, the steps to finding each one of those things. If it's understanding, what the steps for a hypothesis testing does, whatever it is, and you have taken some time to actually memorize procedures, formulas, those types of things that you have to know, as soon as you get that test, write it all down at the top of the test or on the back of the page or wherever you've got some space. Write it all down, and then when you get to the problem that needs it, you're not so stressed trying to remember because your mind is now cluttered with everything else. Scanning through the test, reading direction carefully, make sure you're answering the question that is asked. If it asks you to find the distance and somehow you have found the speed, and there's actually, just because you find an answer doesn't mean it's the final answer. So keep going, make sure you answer the question. But you're scanning the test looking for anything that's easy. Once you find those easy ones, maybe circle them and then start with those. It has a couple effects. One, if you are a person who works a little slower and run out of time, you know you're going to get those done and not lose any points on the ones you know how to do or you're pretty sure you know how to do. The other thing is if you get a couple of them right, you are feeling more confident, even if there's several that you don't get right. If you get some right, you're going to feel more confident. So that's, you've done the easy problems, and then if you find you can't do a problem, come back to it, but jot down any formulas. Ooh, this looks like I could be using whatever, the formula for compound interest, or whatever it is. It looks like maybe I could use that, put a sketch of what the graph looks like, whatever. Do that, come back later. If I don't know how to do something, I try to relate it to something I know. Your instructor in your class has helped you know every type of problem. So even if it doesn't look exactly like what you've seen, if it's close, use those ideas. This is the one that will gain you the most points or lose you the most points. You better be showing your work. Write your steps, write down your evidence. In most cases for a math class, unless it's multiple choice, your teacher is going to give you some partial credit. Now, as you have time, you're checking your work, checking your answers. Make sure those things are reasonable. You may end up running out of time, in which case you can't check everything. But if you do have time, you're not turning in your test early, you're checking it and making sure you didn't make a dumb mistake. Pacing yourself, knowing, gosh, I only have an hour to do this. I have to have all 14 of these problems or whatever done. So kind of figure out about how long you should be spending on each problem. And if you find you're spending a really long time on a problem, skip it, come back at the end if you have time. All right, so that's the during the test. And then finally, additionally during the test, so not just the taking of the content, but how do you reduce that stress? So many of us have test anxiety. So many people have that. One form or the other. It can be great anxiety or mild anxiety, and it sometimes depends on how prepared you are. And you've seen this in all of these. I check my inner voice. I turn negative thoughts into positive thoughts. I can do math. I am as prepared as possible. I've done what I can to study. This is a good one, which some of these sound a little cheesy, but I've used these in different stressful situations. But visualizing yourself in a favorite relaxing situation, probably not a test location, but close your eyes, take 5 or 10 seconds, take a deep breath. And imagine that. So and this is part of your mental break as well. I do stress reducing exercises. So this picture here with this young woman with her arms above her head, that may or may not be distracting to people around you. So you may have to just kind of roll your shoulders or do a little, mild stretching with your arms, or even this last one, muscle tensing and relaxing. This is a great one. So try it before you get in a testing situation. See how it feels for you. You clench your fists, relax your fists. Clench your abs, relax your abs, whatever. Just do that with whatever you're comfortable with, as you need to take some breaks and reduce your stress just a little bit. Okay, so those are a bunch of different things. All of them are fantastic. If you've not done any of them or hardly any of them, you're not going to be able to incorporate all those into your next test. But what I want you to do, and it's on that worksheet again, if you haven't already done it, pick 3 skills that you are willing to try that you don't normally do, that you have a sometimes or a never on there. 3 of the things that I talked about or that were on those lists that you don't normally do on a test. Maybe it's a data dump, maybe it's getting early, whatever it is, doing those mental breaks. I don't care. Pick 3 things that you're willing to try, write them down, and then when your next test comes up, please try them and let us know how it goes. Thanks, and have a good afternoon or evening.